So, I heard a story about a lady who asked her online audience if it was unusual for a girl to approach boys and ask them what they liked and didn't like, conjure conversation out of thin air as guys are meant to do, and ultimately ask for a guy's number and go on a real date. The girl is convinced that men are incapable of approaching women in a non-creepy way, and hence advocates for women to initiate contact first. She repeated her question to the male members of the crowd, this time asking if they would like it if a girl asked them out. She went on to say what we already knew. Unless a man is extremely handsome, women will automatically label him as creepy whenever he approaches them, which is most of the time. Next, she tells a story of her buddy who, in an effort to reverse the norm, approached a guy and asked him out on a date. She then made an effort to strike up a conversation with him about the weather, during which she repeatedly questioned the man's apparent lack of interest. She kept trying to strike up conversations with the guy, but he would only respond with one word at a time, so she eventually gave up and said she didn't know what to do. Which means you have a complete understanding of the inverse as well. In my opinion, it's not out of the ordinary for a woman to approach a man. Nevertheless, she should expect to be rejected just as often as a man would. No woman should be taken aback if a man claims to be dating someone else when he is clearly not. Most women would give up after experiencing rejection. Perhaps women should start initiating conversations because guys are so bad at it, even if it makes them seem odd. From what I've seen, women often condemn males for strange actions that are strikingly similar to their own. In other words, women are more prone to make an excuse than males. Welp, here's the cold, hard truth of trying to get someone interested in something. During this time, guys are expected to keep women entertained with clever banter and conversation starters. Women will make negligible efforts now that the tables have been turned. The story's protagonist didn't appreciate this development and promptly decided she no longer wanted to see her boyfriend. Males have put up with this behavior from women for a long time despite the fact that it makes it more difficult for men to approach them. Eventually, you may find yourself wondering why males bother with all that exertion for so long. Said, it's not simple to strike up a conversation with a stranger and keep it going. Yet men must do so because women refuse to, and men must also bear the repercussions as women go about their day and reject the next person who approaches them. Consequently, there is no one reason why males don't approach women nowadays. Rather, it is a complex interplay of many different truths about modern society and gender roles. Differences between now and 7 or 8 decades ago are vast in terms of culture and social mores. Some things stick out to me as I consider these changes. So why are men changing their methods of the courtship of women? Tell me about the events that went happen during this time. But do these men who follow women and act like fools for them actually want to be with them? Before social media, there was no easy method to get in touch with a lady quickly regardless of her location. Mobile devices and online connectivity. Back when there were fewer options for men to express their interest in women, they often had to resort to physical contact to get the attention of potential partners. In order to ask the lady out on a date, the male had to fulfill social conventions such as dressing nicely and introducing himself to her parents. Both sexes can now meet and talk to one another whenever and wherever they like. Though it was a lot more effort back then because you had to plan everything yourself, the process was simple and, perhaps, even more fascinating. Since you couldn't just look her up on Facebook or Instagram, the mental picture you formed of her based on what you saw and loved was probably what drove you to approach her. A lady approaches him and proposes a date. Because of this, most people dated within their own social circles, and geographical proximity was a major consideration. Live online chats with everyone in the world are a modern convenience that neither men nor women had before. These conveniences make dating and socializing easier on people's schedules and wallets, but they also remove some of the spontaneity from those activities. Men used to approach women all the time, so why have they stopped doing so recently? It's because, in my experience, most guys are more likely to think through the repercussions of a choice before acting on it. Today, the risks associated with initiating contact with a woman much outweigh any potential benefits. The modern man who approaches a woman should expect to be labeled a weirdo, or ignored and rejected if he is unsuccessful. Why? It is not worth a man's time to approach an unnamed woman because most men are seen by women as predators or desperate men. However, if a woman already knows a man and wants to get in touch with him, then is a different story. Way too much may go wrong. The pain of public embarrassment. Men often shies away from approaching women for a variety of reasons, including a lack of confidence and the fear of rejection. A woman is more likely to embarrass a man if he approaches her politely to strike up a conversation than the other way around. A man trying to approach a woman without coming off as weird or unpleasant was shown making a complete fool of himself in a video. The woman lied on social media, claiming the touch was weird so she could get some likes and maybe go viral. As I saw everything unfold, I asked myself, why on earth would I want to approach a woman today? The fact that females have varying responses to males in the population is also crucial to comprehend this phenomenon. Please give some thought to how one's social status and perceived worth affect how they are treated. Think back on instances in your own life when a homeless person contacted you. You immediately went on the defensive, intending to neither engage with them nor give them any information. True for females as well. They place a high value on their reputation and standing in society. However, women still need to be on guard at all times because a male can forcefully abduct them at any time, even if their current situation is much better than it was a century ago. The problem, though, emerges when you see a male publicly shame a woman for no other reason than approaching her in public. One can only conclude that the normal man has lost his value in the eyes of today's women. Do you believe a woman who is notorious for treating regular guys who approach her with disdain will treat Mark Zuckerberg the same way? Having amassed $1 billion, Zuckerberg is a powerful and influential figure in society. She certainly wouldn't have the nerve to insult him. You can see that a man's social standing and perceived value determine how he interacts with and treats women. I've already mentioned that women's reactions to men vary widely based on their impressions of them. If she doesn't think he's better than her, she'll treat him like he doesn't matter or is beneath her. If she thinks a man is better than her, she'll treat him with greater deference and be more open to dating him. Take note of how a lady communicates with her boss. Please take into account whether she would be more likely to show deference to the superior or the subordinate in a hypothetical situation. It's obvious that modern women have lost all respect for males, and I believe that most men have decided to avoid them as a result. They have decided to do nothing that would make it easier for women to demean and disrespect them. Men have seen a steady decline in women's respect for them over the years. They've chosen to ignore the criticism and acceptance from women in favor of protecting their reputation and standing in the community. For my own safety, I think I'd be better off avoiding ladies altogether, as I've heard too many tales of women being harassed by females, who then report the incident to the police, even if the men in question did nothing wrong.